Anything and everything, I said anything and everything. La 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 la, join us to talk about anything and anything. Welcome back to another episode of Anything and Everything Women of Color Catalyst. My name is Halima Sharif, and I'm the host and producer for the show, which acknowledges that everyone has a story. Our last Women of Color Catalyst segment aired live on October 22nd, 2020. During that time, we welcomed Working Mother Media's president, Suba Barry, global fashion design expert Sandra Wilkins, comedian actress Lunel, attorney and partner for Winston & Strawn, and now current chief of staff to First Lady Jill Biden, Julissa Reynosa, and director of diversity and inclusion for the House of Representatives, Kimba Hendricks. Today, in honor of Women's History Month, we have two amazing young entrepreneurs. I can't even talk today, y'all. Entrepreneurs who I am just so proud of. We have Brittany Simmons Willis and Joel Dyson. Welcome, ladies. It's great to have you on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. You know, Brittany, I have known you since you were a little tiny tot. Your mom, Karen, is my wonderful, beautiful sorority sister. Hey, Karen. I am so proud of you. And Joelle, although we have never met personally, I know of all the wonderful things you are doing, not only through my son, Jelani, but your brother, Joe, and so many other channels of people and entities who speak so highly of you. I mean, I see it myself, young sister. So you ladies rock. I'm very proud of you.
Thank you.
So on that note, let me introduce these lovely ladies and share their bios. Brittany Simmons Willis is the founder of 828 Enterprises and a franchise owner of PJ's Coffee of New Orleans, located in North Dallas. She has a Bachelor of Science from Vanderbilt University and an MBA from the University of Arkansas, Sam Walton Graduate School of Business. After a decade of Fortune 500 experience, successfully developing and managing corporate retail accounts valued at more than $300 million, Brittany felt there was more available to her. She had the privilege of acting like an owner by managing major corporate accounts with retail juggernauts such as Walmart Inc. and Amazon. And by 2019, she chose to swap acting like an owner for actually being one. As divine intervention would have it, during her tenure with Keurig Dr. Pepper, a leading coffee and beverage manufacturer with the consumer packaged goods industry, Brittany gained direct access and involvement to the coffee industry. Furthermore, from 2018 to 2019, Brittany gained certifications from the Specialty Coffee Association in coffee sensory, green coffee, roasting, brewing, and barista skills. This is the catalyst that resulted in Brittany making the active decision to complement years of success with managing Fortune 500 accounts into building her own business with an esteemed franchise model. The power of franchising had long been a business model that piqued Brittany's interest, but it was not until late 2019 that Brittany had the epiphany to unite her interest of owning a business and her love for coffee, particularly the PJ's Coffee of New Orleans brand. She would officially join the PJ's family as a franchisee in early 2020, right before the coronavirus outbreak began to swell into a full-blown global pandemic. Naturally, this caused Brittany to question not only timing, but entrepreneurship altogether. But her willingness to proceed was rooted in faith and steadfastness, knowing that coffee, the second largest commodity in the world, can weather stay-at-home orders. She did it. She saw it in real life with drive-through coffee lines wrapped around buildings, out into the street, and even in the overall franchise system numbers during the toughest points of the lockdown. As a 20-year PJ's Coffee patron, Brittany, a coffee aficionado, was intimately aware of the brand's product superiority. Combined with a powerful heritage, proven model of success, and appreciation for expanding the brand, Brittany knew that her desire to enter into franchising would be best partnered with this franchise, as she played an inaugural role of expanding the brand to Dallas, Texas. Brittany's career and professional advice has long been sought by personal and professional peers. As a result, several years ago, Brittany began to formally consult with startups and small businesses in addition to managing her corporate career. There are few things more gratifying to Brittany than the ability to use her breadth and depth of business acumen to assist individuals achieve their entrepreneurial and professional goals. Wow, my head is spinning. Once again, welcome, Brittany.
Thank you.
Now on to, yeah, man. I mean, my head is like still spinning. On to the lovely Joel Dyson. Singer and entrepreneur, Joel L.E. Dyson is a rose and blood bloom with a captivating presence on and off the stage. A native of New Orleans, she began her music studies and formal vocal training at the age of 6. She attended New Orleans Center for Creative Arts and continued through college, graduating from Eastman School of Music, one of America's most prestigious music conservatories. She has a wellspring of creativity, inspiration, and knowledge in vocal performance, vocal technique, and business. She's performed on distinguished stages with soloists and lead roles at the Kennedy Center, Playwrights Horizons Off-Broadway, Mahalia Jackson Theater, New Orleans Opera, and has toured the breadth of the northeastern region of North America and Canada, opening for acts such as John Legend, Ivan Neville, and George Porter Jr. Her awaited debut EP, He Loves Me Not, was actually released in the spring of 2020. Amongst her passion and performance, she owns a performing arts company, Beyond the Stage LLC, providing professional private training to children ages 4 and up in beginner piano, voice, and theater. Once again, welcome, ladies. I am so thrilled to have you join us today.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So let's get through it because I got a lot of questions for y'all, and I'm totally intrigued. Okay, so let's start with you, Brittany.
Okay.
How long have you known you wanted to be a business owner? What sparked your interest? And Joel, you can chime in to the same question as well.
Yeah, if you were to ask me or tell me 2 years ago you're owning your own business, I would have said you were crazy. It's that new. For so long, I got to a point where it was honestly came after kind of just career and kind of vocational burnout. And it was at that point of the burnout where I didn't feel like myself. I was almost resenting the work I was doing. And I was like, there's one thing I know myself. And I've loved business, the art of business, processes, planning, strategizing since I was 14. You ask anybody who knew me in middle school, they're like, of course she owns her own business. I mean, they see it. I didn't. But I thought my career would be solely about climbing someone else's corporate ladder. I never for a second thought it would involve building my own, as I kind of say now. And it was at that point of the burnout, I really began, I guess you could call it, I was at a rock bottom where I was very intimately aware now of my why, like my purpose, what gets me out of bed. And it was my why that changed. Here we are. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, there's nothing wrong with, your 9 to 5 working for major corporations. I mean, that's how millions and millions of people around the world make a living. For me, however, that was not fulfilling me anymore. It was really clear that I was looking to do something that was going to impact my legacy, impact something that I could hand off, especially as a Black woman, a millennial, just a person of color. You don't see that a lot. Sure, you see it, but I mean, truthfully, in a small business storefront, that wasn't something that I really saw. And so it was kind of a little small silent act of rebellion as well, kind of at the time of just kind of the period we're in right now with kind of just all the racial unrest and injustices. It was something that just made sense. It seemed timely, especially with my business interests. I began to take an interest in planning and zoning and economic development and really paying attention to what was happening in my city and where it was happening. And as I was watching these recorded sessions, city council, again, planning and zoning commissions, there was no one in that room that looked like me. And I said, what better way of infiltrating those spaces and making my voice known than breaking out on my own and kind of inserting myself in the community? And if you ask my husband, I've always said, this is so much bigger than this storefront or the franchises that and the enterprises that I want to build. It's about a well-rounded experience that's going to give me it's the sort of proximity and understanding to really begin to make a bigger impact beyond even just, enterprising in business. So very new. And I'm actually, some days I wake up and I'm like, what were you thinking? Like, really? But as exhausting as it is, it's so fulfilling. Like it's very different when you're exhausted and you literally have nothing left. I would imagine parenthood is like this. I would imagine it's probably very close, but you still keep going because it feeds you and it's yours. So yeah, that's the little background there.
And that's awesome. Just listening to you, the maturity. I mean, there are people, there are 20, 30-year-olds, 32-year-olds who are very mature. And just listening to you saying you actually attended council meetings. Most people would never go to a council meeting. I mean, I did back in my age because I was just that person. But, when you go in business, you do have to think about zoning and land use and stuff like that. It's very important, especially, if in a place like New Orleans, with all the different historical districts, and not just New Orleans. I'm sure Dallas has the same thing. So, I mean, that was ingenious on your part. Joel.
Yeah. So as I was sitting here thinking about that question, I would say I always sort of knew that I wanted to use my talent to give back to the world in terms of being inspirational and motivational. My dad's a pastor, so I've grown up singing in church. And since I was a little girl, people would always come to me after singing and say, wow, like you really touched my heart. That really got me through the day. Or, I was thinking about doing such and such, and, this just changed my life. And so that sort of followed me. And I think that propelled me into the career that I am in now. Now, I will say I always knew that I wanted to sing, but I didn't always know that I wanted to go into the educational route. That was something that came about after I taught privately to a couple of students, and one parent just randomly one night after a lesson said, have you ever thought about making this a full-blown business? Like, you're really good with kids, and at that time I was actually teaching full-time. And I actually hated it. I knew I wanted to quit at some point. I knew that wasn't like my final destination. Like Brittany said, I was burned out. I wasn't myself. I wasn't fulfilled. I didn't want to go to work in the mornings. And although I was touching lives in that sort of space, it just wasn't for me. So I really thought about her question that night, and I said, you know what? She's right. Like, I love music. I love doing things on my own. I'm a creative. I love writing. And so I think I should do this on my own time and make this what I want it to be, and really give back to us, to our community, in a way that hasn't been seen before. So yeah, I think I always knew, but the on the stage was not thought of at all. So.
I'm hearing passion. You're passionate on purpose. And we hear that often. And a lot of times, when you, like you said, Brittany, there's nothing wrong with a 9-to-5. Some people prefer the 9-to-5. I'm not a 9-to-5 person. I don't think I've ever been a 9-to-5 person, even when I was a 9-to-5. Because the word you use, creative, we all, whether we're in the arts or whether we're in finance, if a franchise owner, we all are creative geniuses in our different spaces. And I think that's what makes us so unique. So when you're doing something that you love doing, even if it's a lot of sweating and putting your head against the wall, I know Brittany, you're doing it because it's yours. It was your idea, it was your creation, your passion. So I think that's what I love about what you ladies are doing. For the audience, you're in the arts, Joel, and Brittany's a franchise owner and a business owner, and just got so many wonderful things going on. Joel, let's start with you. What skill sets do you need? Would you say you need to do the work in your industry space?
Well, not for one, I think you have to have a keen sense of who you are. in terms of being an artist and also an entrepreneur as well. But I think as a whole, for me, as being a singer and also now a business owner, definitely you have to be personable. You have to be organized, which we talked about before, prioritizing and, follow up, follow through, networking skills, those sorts of things, strategizing. I'm actually in school right now getting my MBA because there's things that I need to, there's things that I need to know that will help me be able to really manage my business in the most optimal way. So, yeah.
Brittany?
Yeah, as I was listening, I was like, check. Yeah, I would say, so if I break up consulting and franchising, I would say, with consulting, it's a lot about understanding how to help someone. So it's all about the diagnosis and really understanding their goals and objectives and understanding where those gaps and those opportunities are. And then, so not only being able to say, okay, hey, here's the opportunity, but then helping them understand how we build to that and how we step there. And I think when it comes to startups and small business owners, what I find is there's either so much passion or just that and or a great product or service. Mm-hmm. But then there's that just know-how of running a business. And I always tell people, like, people talk about money, revenue, and sales. And I'm like, yeah, that's nice. What's your profit? Because you're bringing in 30,000 a month and spending 35. So you want to tout. So like the first thing I say is, do you know your profit? Do you know your profit dollars? And they'll look at me with deer in headlights. And I'm like, that's usually the very first thing that we dive into. Sure. So it's just a keen ability to dissect and analyze and usher and kind of lead someone down the path. And with just being a business owner, that's time management. Prioritization. Again, I would say even if you have someone handling your books, you still need an understanding of the finances. You're in business to make money at the end of the day, or to manage the money. And I think above all, strategy. So short-term, mid-term, long-term. Like, I'm already thinking 5 years ahead. Like, when I hire people, when I promote people, when I'm looking at my staff, I have a bench. If anyone were to walk out at any point in time, I want to make sure. So people planning. I want to make sure that there's somebody who can step in. If there's not, I'm hiring for that. And so yeah, I would say those are some of the main ones, like strategy, people management, leadership. And then I would say the last piece is executional, executional abilities, because you can think all day, you can dream all day, you can strategize all day, but do you know how to turn that strategy into an actionable tactic and go execute and achieve your goal? Those are paramount, I would say, skills.
Yeah, for sure.
This is some excellent advice. And I mean, this is excellent advice, not just for current business owners, startup companies, but future folks, but people who are even working those 9-to-5s, those managers, those CEOs. Time management is a big deal. A lot of time. I mean, we have. It seems like we work more than we are at home.
Yes.
Look at your face.
Just told my staff, I see y'all more than I see my husband.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like really crazy, and you're seeing yourself, oh Lord, and see you're a franchise owner of a coffee conglomerate. Okay, it's not like you can work from home. Say, oh yeah, come to my window and here's the coffee. It's completely different. And Joel, you have the luxury of connecting with your students through Zoom, which is awesome. But I'm sure you miss that face to face, that interaction. It makes a difference. So let me ask you the next question, you all. So as a African-American female entrepreneur, business owner, what are some of the challenges that you both have faced? Carol, we can start with you. I know y'all have a lot.
I'm sorry, Joel or myself? I'm happy to.
Oh, you can go, Brittany.
I'll be very. It's funny. I actually wondered when the first time I was going to talk about this. I didn't think it'd be this soon. So this is hot off the press.
Oh Lord.
Yeah. The hardest part, and it really it's sad and it's saddening. The hardest part about it is, do I advertise that this is a Black-owned business? Do I promote that? Do I have times where I'm like, you know what, maybe I shouldn't go behind the counter and assert that, I'm an authoritative figure here. There are times where I guess just my presence, just, for those, I'm 6 feet tall. So I think that alone probably begets kind of an authoritative kind of stance. But every now and again, I guess people are watching what's going on, and, I'm definitely behind the counter, I guess, I'm helping run plays and kind of keep things organized so we can keep speed top of mind. And I will often have somebody randomly say, hey, are you a manager? And I remember the first time I kind of wanted to lean into that and be like, yeah, because it didn't say I was the Black female owner. But I was just out. But even when, I'll never forget, sidebar, when I applied for my SBA loan and I got to that box that was either Black or white. And I was like, I might have a much easier time if I were to check this one, but I will shrink for no one. And let's go ahead. And I'm Black all day. And I had that same moment of hesitation the very first time someone asked me that. And I kind of, every time I say, no, sir, or no, ma'am, I'm the owner, I have to wonder, are they coming back? Are they going to have an issue with that? There are a lot of people that promote, that they'll be on, Instagram and things like that. And, just the love that I'm getting from Black people, Black families, the loyals, people I see in there every day, in the drive-through every day, and I'm just like, what repercussions is this going to have? And it's like I said, it's sad. I've never in my life, and it kind of feels like I'm shrinking a bit, right? Like, am I not like really? And again, first time I've ever talked about this, like, it's just, that's the hardest piece. And I'm still going with it. Is the community going to embrace me, or is there going to be an issue where it's like, oh, we don't want to support that store? But I'm a woman of faith, and I know I'm following in God's steps. And that kind of helps me kind of just lean into just, again, I am who I am. And, end of the day, yeah, you have real bills and expenses you need to pay. I need people to not want to be here because they might have an issue with that. But it's honestly a risk that I'm taking every day. And I just wish that just in 2021, that was not something I had to even contemplate how to handle.
Yeah. Yeah, I can understand, Joel.
Yeah, I agree, Brittany. For me, beyond the stage, at this point, we don't have a location, but I am heavily marketing. And the same questions that you had to ask yourself is like literally what I had been asking myself most recently, is like, how I'm all for inclusion, but am I marketing this as like just Black owned and like it's only for Black kids? Do I want to get a random white person? Sorry to say that, but like, do I want to get somebody and put them in this picture so people can feel like, they should come and check out this business, and, and it's also quite disheartening when I'm looking at metrics after putting funds behind my marketing on social media, passing out flyers, doing, grassroots work, that the reception is just not the same. I honestly, at this point, I'm sort of like, I'm building this for us because I already know that ship has sailed, and it's really just not going to happen. I haven't really received a polite welcome from the other communities. And so it's pretty hard. And I'm still trying to navigate that. But at this point, my motto has always been creating something for us. In New Orleans, there's not many Black-owned performance arts firms. So I'm sort of just like, this is for us. I'm classically trained. I'm exposing our kids, So that's how I feel about it. That's pretty blatant, but at this point, I don't care,
That's why we're here.
I'm apologetic for that. Like, I'm building for us. I was so proud to have the billboard be one of my students. Yes. She's Black, and she's, she has her braids in, and, when do we get to really see that, all the time on billboards? Like, we don't. And I specifically asked for a Black child. I had to. So you don't have one for me, I will give you one. You can do this picture. So yeah.
Let's show that billboard, and then I'm gonna comment on what you ladies just shared. This is the billboard that Joel is referring to. You know, beautiful Black child singing her lungs out. You know, you know, it is for us. I mean, when you, who else is gonna do it?
Right.
And you know, not taking anything from anyone else. You know, there's nothing to apologize for. And I hear where you're both coming from, because, you know, I remember working in corporate America, living in New York for so long. It was an agency that I was working for, and they told me, "Oh, you're the first African American that we've ever had in this senior position." I said, "No, not actually. I'm the first Halima Sharif you ever had." It happened to be an African American. You know, see, that's I don't believe in cliches. I don't believe in just like regurgitating what everyone else says. Yes, I know I'm an African American, but you know, in other countries, like when we were living overseas in the Middle East, didn't have to worry about that too much, because there was no conversation about diversity and inclusion. It's like everyone were members of humanity. You know, you had those who were making more money than others, but it didn't matter, didn't care. You know, there was no situation where this house looks better than that house. You had a little slumlord looking house, and then you had a big mansion over here. Nobody cared. But in America, it's different. And then regionally, you know, Brittany, you're in Texas. You're in Louisiana. The dynamics are interesting. And everywhere you are, the dynamics are interesting in New York, in Chicago, Atlanta, especially in the southern markets. You know, some people just aren't there. And even though we're in a situation right now where the conversations have shifted as it relates to race relations, diversity and inclusion is heightened, but there's still challenges out there. But at the end of the day, we have to keep doing for us. That's the bottom line. You know, we want other customers, and we want white customers, Asian customers, Latina. But hey, like you said, it's a risk, but it's something that you love doing. And Brittany, I want to go back to you, because I want to share something. You posted on Instagram. Speaking of being, and let's just share this with everyone.
You the manager? No, sir. I'm the owner. You're the owner? Yes, sir, I am. This is a franchise location, right? Who owns the location? I do. I'm the franchise owner. Oh, okay. But are there other partners or owners? I have 100% ownership in this location. Sole proprietor, Brittany Willis. Nice to meet you.
Well, she said what she said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I didn't realize because we're a new store. We've been open 3 weeks. So, you know, there's that kind of local presence, and people like to know the owner. They like to know the owner's making their drink. Oh, and I like them to know the owner's making their drink. Or I know what you get every day. So it wasn't until that last question that I was like, oh, I see. And I had one of my baristas, and she's a woman of color as well, standing next to me when that happened. And I'm a big believer in maintaining kind of an executive presence and calm with my staff. I had to step to the back, and I turned around, and she happened to have been there. And she was like, "Was that guy serious?" And I was like, "Okay, you saw that?" I felt so small. And I've dealt with, you know, things like that my entire life. You know, people asking, you know, basically don't know why I'm in first class. Or I've actually had people, my alma mater is Vanderbilt University. I have 1 million hoodies, don't we all, for our schools. I've had people ask me, who do you know who went there? Like, the list goes on. But there was just something about, it's like, he just couldn't compute that it was me. He was trying to find every angle for that not to be me. And it made me mad anyway. And then I was disappointed with myself for allowing it to jar me the way it did. And it kind of, I slept on, and I talked to my husband, and we kind of talked about it, and he was like, you should share that. So that I made that little skit. But yeah, unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah. I always say we shouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
It happened. You know, Joel, is there anything else you want to add to that?
No, I was just thinking, like, Black female owner, you know, why wouldn't it be you, you know?
Yeah.
Where we are. And
That's right.
it sucks.
Yeah, totally. So ladies, Joel, we're going to start with you. Talk about your teachers and your influencers, and not necessarily, I mean, we're talking about business and entrepreneurship, but just in general, blend it all together. Joel?
So I'm only going to share one because this was like my first influencer and also teacher. And she didn't know it, but at a tender age of about 7 years old, this lady taught me so much and I admired her so much. And it's the infamous, the magnificent Jermaine Basil.
Yes, Lord.
I feel like she doesn't get enough accolades, but she is so kind. She's such a lady. She's so poised, so graceful on and off the stage. She's very articulate, very well knowledgeable. She knows herself. And her presence is just so commanding when she walks into a room. That was like the number one thing that I read when I was like 7 years old. I might not have been able to articulate that, but like I was like, wow, there's just something about her. She wears her crown and she knows her worth. And it's just so amazing. And as a child, I was like, I want to be like that. And, granted, like, I think when I first met Miss Basil, she had to be like in her late 50s or maybe like early 60s, something like that. And for her to be at that age and for me to still be intrigued was just, crazy. So yeah, she's very articulate. I don't know. She's just a wonderful person to me. So when I saw that question, I was just like, Jermaine, that was the first person that popped in my head. And I was just like, although that there are other great women that I've never met, actually, Beyonce, she's a great singer. She has business.
Beyonce?
Yeah, she has. Yeah, I mean, she's a mogul. She's a mogul. She's, she's unapologetic. As a singer, she is somebody that I don't aspire to be like her, but she inspires me. She sees her weaknesses and she builds upon them. She's a go-getter, and Rihanna too. So those women as singers and also entrepreneurs, I'm like, yes, but Miss Basil holds a special place in my heart. She does. And I'm like, if I can be as graceful as her and like kind and articulate and, I don't take anything from anybody, that is what I want for myself. So.
Well, I agree with you because Miss Basil was my teacher. She was my teacher at Xavier Prep. And I interviewed her. Actually, she was one of my first interviews. You went to Xavier Prep. Oh, ain't that something? Didn't realize I had a little prepper on here. But yeah, I interviewed her in the very beginning, and she's so graceful. And on March 28th, she'll be 89 years old.
Wow, that's beautiful.
And she is just as poised and graceful. I mean, yeah, I can go on and on.
Yeah.
Brittany.
Okay, yeah, and we're identifying a woman that inspires us. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that is so. As I was hoping that wasn't. I was like, I hope that's because that is so hard for me. Like I could say, and so one is so cliche. I almost don't want to say it. Oprah, business mogul, and there's.
I didn't hear you. Who did you say?
Oh, Oprah.
Yeah.
And it just feels so cliche, but it's, true. Kind of to your point, like I remember being, 7, 8, it was on every day at 3 or 4, when I came home from school. And to your point, just seeing the command that she has. And I just feel like there's so many microcosms of women throughout my life that I've seen. And I feel like what if I were to say, well, who inspires me? It's bits and pieces of each of them.
Yes.
But it's always the same person. If I had to say someone, it is my grandmother. It's not for the reasons, not just simply because she's my grandmother and she, and she is her and she is the matriarch. My grandmother, it's kind of, you think about Grace, a praying woman, kind of that, again, you walk into a room and she is just so, she's so graceful, but she's powerful. She could say one word and it's gonna fill up the room. And she's so humble, but she actually retired CEO of a hospital. So she started as a nurse and climbed her way up kind of in the healthcare administration. And it was almost like I didn't really know what my grandmother did not for real. Like I didn't know she was a CEO until she retired, and my mom told me. I was like she's that kind of person.
Yeah, she is.
And so if I could be 5% of who she is, like I'm doing something. Like just again, from the spiritual side to the professional side, the personal side, just the way she handles challenges and adversity. And again, just grace. The word grace is just power through grace keeps coming up. And, she was the first person that I ran, more than a year ago that I ran I ran this kind of idea of, hey, I'm gonna do a franchise, and she keeps it real, but encouraging. And obviously I knew that when my grandmother didn't say, hey baby, I don't know about that, I knew that was essentially ordained because she would have. So yeah, she's like my angel on earth. She's just a phenomenal woman.
Oh, that's so beautiful. It's so important to have those type of women in our lives. You Ms. Basil and your grandmother, those matriarchs.
Yeah.
So important. And we gotta embrace them while they're here.
Yes. Flowers while they're here. Yes.
Yeah, embrace them while they're here. My mom was born in 1924 and like they had me in their 40s. And so she was a woman of grace and style and she was so humble. And, she would be 96 if she were alive. And I think about that often. And I'm like, I'm so grateful to God that I was raised by such a woman, so we have to be grateful for those women, those wonderful women in our lives. So let's do something. I want you ladies to take me through your day-to-day operation. Okay. Now, Brittany, I can only imagine what you're going to take me through. So whoever wants to go first,
I'll let Joel go.
Yeah,
I'm a boy, you guys.
I'm still building. Kudos to you, girl. So my typical day, I like to wake up super early, meditate, pray. I'm very spiritual. If I don't pray, my day is not my day. Right. If I don't meditate, it's not right. And so I'll wake up at like 5:30 if I'm a good girl. But mostly it's like 6 a.m. And then I'll meditate, pray, and then leave and go to the gym, take care of myself. Self-care is super important for me to be able to function at my best. After gym time for about like 7 to 8:15, 8:30, come back, shower, and then I have to go to a coffee shop because either I have emails to send to parents, I have to plan for events happening for my business or for myself as an artist. There's always something to do, always. And now that I'm in school online, I have schoolwork. So I'm sort of, managing all of that. So I'm going to a coffee spot because I can't work at home. I just can't. And so I'll go somewhere where I can focus, get things done, and then I'm on to some online voice lessons or beginner piano lessons. If I remember to eat, which I'm still working on at this point in my life, if I remember to eat lunch, I'll do that in my car. I'll do that in my car on the way to some in-person lessons. And then I'm not done with that until I want to say around 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. And then if I don't have any rehearsals scheduled, any meetings, then it's back to work. It's like studying, or I'm like, okay, am I going to give myself me time? And so, yeah, that is pretty much how my day looks on a normal day. Sometimes I'm just pulled here and there. Sometimes I have like, rehearsals for New Orleans Opera, or my dad's a pastor, so I help him with like marketing things and such. So I'm here and there. So I'm just really in my car, and that's where I eat. That's where I think. And yeah, so my days they're pretty good. I'm pretty sure they're a little lighter than compared to Brittany right now at this point in my life.
That's funny. Before we go to Brittany, I'm going to share with the audience a little glimpse of your day in life, Joel.
Sure.
So can you see that? Get this, the pictures of you and your students? So you want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. So this was actually during the summer. So we curated a vocal intensive workshop for students 10 years old to about 17 who are serious about vocal training. And, some of these kids were songwriters. Some of them were actual like singers. They performed, in various places in the city. And some of them were just, they just loved to sing and they wanted to take it a little bit more seriously. So within this 1 week vocal intensive, they got a slew of master classes from some very, very well knowledgeable people in this craft. Right now, picture that is Wynton Thomas, who's a singer well known in New Orleans. We had a person come in for acting, another person who came in for specifically songwriting, and then the kids gave an amazing performance at the end. And so it was just a fun week when we only accepted about, I want to say 12 or 15, I can't remember, 15 students in this program. So it was good. It was great.
That's awesome. So let's go on this next, and then you have these more students.
Yeah, so these are some of the Beyond the Stage students, ranging from about...
They're beautiful.
Yes, they are 10 to about 28 years old. And this was at an art series that we curated at the Ashe Center. We partnered with them, and it was nice. Beautiful. Yeah, we invited visual artists, dancers, actors, and the kids got a chance to showcase, and it was great. It was lovely.
And I'm going to show one more of you actually doing a class on
Sing, oh, sing, sing, oh. 1, 2, 3, sing. Sing, oh, sing, sing, oh. Sing, oh, sing, sing, oh. Sing, oh, sing, sing, oh. Zingo, zingy, zingo. Zingo, zingy, zingo. Great. All right. Let's get to your music. Let's see what that's talking about. Also, you know how for like
to do that. Don't mean to do that. I'm just going crazy. Hold on. This technical malfunctions. Halim don't know what the world she's doing. Okay, here I am. We're back. Okay. That must be very fulfilling to work with those students, man. I'll tell you. Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah. And it's always fun to get to know their little personalities and to also hear the passion that they have for their craft. It's inspiring. So
yes, it is. Sure.
I couldn't ask for a better job.
Amen to that. So, Brittany.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's talk about your wonderful, crazy, wonderful, exciting life as a franchise owner.
Okay, so I'm gonna try to keep this as just your typical day. So I'm gonna start at midnight because it's probably where I'm not getting good sleep because I'm wondering what's going on. How was the cold night? Did they thaw the food they were supposed to thaw? Is the alarm on? Just so, and I've started waking up probably between 2 and 3 a.m. where I either pray or meditate back to sleep. So I'm a Peloton lover. So I'm totally into the Peloton meditation space. So Rodney Rayburn is my guy, but I am maniacal about self-care and rest, however you get it. My husband is a part of my self-care. I just like, honestly, just laying next to him, like within 5 minutes, I'm asleep. But so yeah, I get back to sleep and I'm usually up. I'm a morning person anyway. I used to get up at 6 o'clock anyway. Now I'm getting up at about 5 because most days I'm there at 5:30. We open at 5:30. The reason for me being there has multiple reasons, but it's about, we're only 3 weeks in. There has not been the same day, the same Monday, the same 6 a.m. Like none of that has been the same. So I want to be there to see it all. I do 60% of my volume. Essentially, before about 11 is kind of about right. So I want to see what's going on. What type of customers are there? What type of products do I hear us selling? And I also want to observe the operations because I'm a businesswoman, so I know how to run a business. I've never run a coffee shop. So, but it's honestly widgets. There's so many transferable skills here. So it's just observing. Oh, okay. Oh, that customer didn't like it. We were out of that. Okay. Like taking a note, that kind of what those things are. So between about 5:30 to 8:45 or 9. Thankfully, I live 5 minutes from my house is 5 minutes from my coffee shop. Complete coincidence. I'm at the shop. I'm observing. Sometimes when I try to go there and do consulting work. So kind of looking looking through their POS, their point of sale, and all that. But I actually find myself immersed in the operations of the shop. I'm sure I'll be able to kind of pull out of that soon and really be able just to be there to immerse in just kind of what's going on in the shop. But right now it's just, I'm getting behind the counter and just observing things. So there's that. 9 to 5 is after that. Like my job has my focus from 9 to 5. I always tell my team, if y'all call me, I'm going to think the store is on fire. So just text me. So I'll get texts throughout the day from my assistant manager or my leads on, hey, delivery was late. Oh, do you want to, things like that. But even when I'm at my job, again, I'm just so consumed with what's going on there and looking at reviews and, looking at transactions. Technology is amazing. So I'm always looking at my sales. I'm looking at what we sold. I can see if something was a mobile order. I can see something was returned. Okay, why was it returned? Okay, it was returned because, that barista sold something we've been sold out of for 2 weeks. Let me make sure the manager knows to let them know not to things like that. After 5, I'm back at the shop. I'm there and I'm usually there between 5 and 8, 5 and 9. I've been pulling back on being there in the evening because we do less volume in the evening. So there's not too much to see, but there's usually, even though we do less volume, we actually still have people in the shop, kind of like you, Joel, that just want to be there. So again, another reason to just kind of observe what's going on. So I'm working like 15, 16 hour days, hands down. Like even after, we're finished here, I may go back up there potentially because it's contingent upon what's going on. So yeah, it's a constant juggling of all of it. Consulting doesn't take up my time all the time. It's really contingent upon the progress that I've made with my client, what they need. But even beyond that, I'm working with my social media folks. I'm working with my branding social media folks. Then there's my PJ's Coffee social media folks. I'm talking with our corporate team, whether it's our operations team and our marketing. I'm talking to my accountant. And that's kind of throughout the day. So I have two kind of things. My lunch hour is kind of where I catch up on, PJ's 828 emails and kind of what's going on for the day that requires my attention. And then the end of the day is kind of a cleanup because I definitely believe in the sundown rule as much as possible. Yes. And then lastly, 9 p.m. is my boundary. My self-care is after 9. If I didn't do it, it'll get done at 5 a.m. Like I've got to rest. And it's interesting that I'm noticing that even getting sleep from 9 to, even sometimes it's broken, but from 9 to 5, I'm not really getting restful sleep. But Joelle, you reminded me of something. I was once just so on my prayer and meditation, and that got my day going. And I was sustained throughout the day, and I kind of realized I need to pour that back into myself to sustain my day. So my day, I feel like as I was listening to myself, it doesn't sound as grueling as it is, but it's a grueling day for sure.
Oh, I'm sorry, Joel. You're on mute.
There she is.
That's
something?
I was just saying it is. I mean, just the mental capacity that it takes up. So yeah, definitely get your prayers in, get that meditation in, because you need to be your best to be dealing with all of the different personalities, first of all. So,
it's a lot. Oh, it's a lot.
I can only imagine.
And then you just started, you said 3 weeks, Brittany?
Yeah, this week's gonna be 3 weeks, yeah.
You know, I want to share some pictures of their storefront. Okay. So you want to talk about this?
Sure. Yeah. So this is a storefront. So what you're kind of the angle you see is the drive-through. So when I was first going down this path of opening the franchise, I was like, oh, I may or may not have a drive-through, no big deal. That was clearly pre-COVID. With COVID, I was like, if I'm going to pursue this now, or even a couple of years from now, it must have a drive-through. That was one of my big risk mitigating factors in doing this. And again, we do a large percent of our volume through our drive-through, but people also come in more than I even thought too, which I think it's our interior that I think people really find the interior very inviting. The franchise kind of feel and aesthetic is really awesome. And, my franchise are also, they allow you to have, some autonomy as a franchise owner to kind of make it your own. So you can see I picked those light fixtures, and we actually are supposed to have those tiles turned in another way, but I actually liked how it looked with them turned. It's technically inside out, but I liked how that looked, and all that kind of good stuff. So this is our service counter. I feel like I live behind that counter. I'm constantly behind that counter. We've got 2 espresso machines, 2 grinders, brewer that you can see, a grab and go cooler. The grab and go cooler was originally going to be positioned kind of further back down that queuing space, but kind of just leaning into my operational experience. I was like, hey, let's have people walk past the grab and go on the way to the register versus, missing the opportunity to kind of pique their interest and kind of get that impulse sale on the way. And it actually turns out to be a really awesome location. People all the time are like, oh, what's that? And I can kind of tell they might have come in for a beverage, but they're leaving with, a grab and go item or juice or an egg bite or something like that. So yeah, that's a service counter. And then, this is our lobby. This is a franchiser thing. I just love that blue. The booths are gorgeous. People find them so comfortable. I picked the light fixtures, the exact railing, the decor on the table. Everything from there is pretty standard. You would find them in most, more modern PJ stores. But yeah, this is where I spend, 40, 50 hours a week. I keep saying I may as well bring a pillow and a blanket and sleep on that couch, but I go home.
See some of your products, huh?
Yeah. So this is our retail shelving. So our medium, dark, and flavored. And I think, even though, I'm a franchise owner, so no, I don't own, no, I'm not roasting it, but I'm still very proud of the coffee that we serve. We're all New Orleans women. I'm not sure if we all drink coffee, but I'm sure we're all very familiar with PJs. And, I've had coffee all over the world, all over the country. And I just kept coming back to PJs being like, I don't quite get a cup like that everywhere, And so, these are some of our items, and, customers are frequently coming in and asking, getting recommendations. And it's so nice. I've actually had most of those coffees. So it's really awesome to say this is my favorite and this is why. And I French press this for this reason. And I do a drip here or that. So this is a big conversation piece as well. But every day we rotate 4 different, we brew 4 different roasts and we rotate them daily so that everyone can kind of get a taste. But by far our most popular, and if anyone here is listening, if you like coffee, highly recommend that you get a bag of PJ's Coffee Southern Pecan. It is one of the most delicious roasts ever. I love it. And it's a customer favorite. It was actually a day we had it on brew. And 4 customers swore. They were like, oh, I don't like flavored coffee. And I was saying, well, it's technically, it's not flavored in a sweetened kind of way. It's just roasted kind of with that flavoring. So I think most people expect it to be kind of a, have a sweetener or sugar. And I converted 4 customers. They were like, oh yeah, give me a cup of that. So highly recommend that one. That's actually one of my favorites.
Well, I need some of that because I love flavored coffee. The smell of it, it just really mesmerizes you. I want to do one more thing. I want to show a video, speaking of being a franchise owner, something I stole off your Instagram page. Yes, I did say, people, I stole it from her.
Mine or someone else's? Oh, who knows if we're going to see? Okay, let's see it.
Why franchising, you ask? In other words, you're not starting from scratch. Site selection is everything, and your franchisor will help you making that critical decision. From manuals, on-demand content, and a dedicated franchise business consultant, I'm never alone. What?
Oops, well, there you go.
Yeah. Yep. So when I announced, it was a grand reveal, I don't know, mid-February or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I got so many like, oh my gosh, why this, why that? So that's what brought that on. And it was just, again, there's every day, there's like 3 times a day, there is something that's like, I don't know this answer. And I'm a text away. I'm talking to the VP of operations, my dedicated franchise business consultant. Hey, how do I incentivize staff to sell more? Oh, let me go to our corporate site to pull the resources down. Like, it's the best thing ever. Like I could honestly not ask for anything more, because I have, in some franchisees, it depends what you're looking for. Some franchisees want to go into a franchise system where they frankly just kind of cut a check and it's kind of doing its own thing. Like, it literally runs itself and the franchisor is running it. PJ's in Ballard Brands, who owns PJ's, is a franchisor that literally, they're wanting it. It's your store. Like, they're giving you a blueprint, but it's I don't think there's been anything I've been told no to that it relates to kind of how I want to do something. But what I'm coming with them with facts. I'm coming at them with reason. Mm-hmm. Like, hey guys, I know we typically do this. I think we should do this instead. Let me tell you why. I believe it. And then, cool. So for me, it's a great franchisor for that reason. And I'm just such a believer in it. You definitely want to do your due diligence. I think every franchise system has something called, or they should call it, a discovery phase, where you have multiple conversations over weeks on weeks and you're mutually interviewing each other and you're trying to decide if it's a good fit. And one of my, I believe, spiritual gifts that I have is a spirit of discernment. I can kind of, it don't take me long to be like, I don't think any hire I've ever had or kind of anything I've been involved in, I either knew I should have, how it goes. Like, I knew then, and that kind of thing. And I haven't been disappointed. So it's a great franchise system for me. I would say, if you're looking to have someone really hold your hand and like do things for you, you have to really seek that out and make sure that the franchise system you're going into is doing that. Because I find, in my experience, and it's nothing negative, but I have found that just in my experience, as I've seen franchisors who don't have just kind of any sort of business experience, it's a lot harder, which I can imagine why. So if you are going into it and you don't have that background and you're not kind of getting that kind of handhold you might be expecting, it's a lot. So I'm just thankful I went into something that's completely in my vocational kind of realm. And it's literally, it's one widget from another. The same way I've sold multiple things for my career, I'm just taking all of that. And I'm really thankful for the last 4 years I've been in e-commerce sales, because e-commerce sales is very entrepreneurial. Like, I'm starting stuff from scratch. I don't know. Okay, what's this? Let's figure it out. And that's just a lot of what I do every day too.
Well, that's beautiful. Now I'm going to put you all on a quick spot, because us women don't like to talk about our age, but I don't have a problem telling people my age. I'm y'all too. Let's tell everybody how old you are, Joelle.
I'm 28.
And how old are you, Brittany?
I'm 32.
They're like my children, and I am just like, go millennials. All right, go y'all. Keep it moving. I'm very proud of you. Show them what you're working with 24/7. So speaking of showing what you're working with, I want you all to briefly tell me about your personal style, your differentiator. What makes you different in your space? Just in general. Joel, let's start with you.
So I always knew I wanted to sing. I always knew I wanted to publish the songs that I'd written since I was a little girl. And in that genre that I love so much was like R&B, you know. But I was like, that's an oversaturated market. And there's lots of singers who get their experience in church. And I was like, what's going to set me apart?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think in like high school, I was like, I need to learn classical music. And it's challenging. And I don't see a lot of Black people doing this. So why not? You know? And so I think that's what sets me apart is that despite the trepidation I might have felt, I did something that I was uncomfortable with. I learned, you know, I'm well learned in jazz and well learned in gospel. I can sing R&B, but classical music is something that you really just don't see a lot of Black women, you know, into. And so I think that is the stamp of me, like saying, hey, I'm well trained, I'm well knowledgeable, and I can do something that a lot of R&B singers just really can't and don't understand. So.
Hey, listen, that says a whole lot. You know you better than anyone else, and you own it. You know, everywhere you go. And then you're, you know, I guess I'm going to add on to that. You know, the importance of being versatile as an artist, even as a business owner. You know, versatility is a big deal. You both have that sense of versatility that you need in pretty much any business or any genre. So it's a plus. Brittany?
Yeah, I think if we're across consulting, even kind of leaning into franchising, I mean, just my background, like, I mean, you know, I have like a kind of like classically trained, but as we call it, like a classical kind of sales and marketing background. I mean, for Fortune 5, I mean, just major organizations, major corporations that I've been working with. I've sat across from, you know, buyers at Walmart and Amazon, like the world's leading retailers, and negotiated, you know, to the benefit of my company, you know, with compromising. I mean, that's some big boy and big girl stuff. And so I'm bringing that to my, you know, my clients, kind of, you know, that experience, just at that level when the stakes are so high and you're really kind of being told no and having to kind of clutch your pearls and gather and really figure out and strategize how to get over the hump, you know? But even just that's boring. I would say this is something that I would have, this might seem like, okay, but I've heard it a lot, especially kind of as people follow my journey on my 828 Enterprises page. But my authenticity actually appears to be something that really stands out. Like, you know, for example, I'm not someone, I don't really wear makeup. That's just so, if you, even right now, I was talking to Halima before, you know, we began, like, I was just like, look, I feel like I look tired, but I'm going to look tired because I'm tired. And I want you to see that. Like, I'm just all about telling it. Like, you know, I'm not filtering my videos. I'm not feeling like I have to get beaten. It's just, I'm not scared to say I messed up. Even when I'm talking to my staff, you know, I'm like, you know what? I made that drink wrong too. That's why I'm telling you how to do it. Like, it's just like, I'm vulnerable and I'm authentic with you. Like, I'm not trying to be big, you know, chick in the ebony tower, you know, like I'm right here with you. And I think that's something that has allowed me to cultivate an amazing culture with my staff or just anybody that I've managed or that I work with. But I definitely realize as I've gotten that feedback, just I think how much that's missing among, you know, entrepreneurs and, you know, the people you follow. Again, everything is just so packaged and gorgeous all the time, and which a lot of my content is, but that's why I pulse in things that are just human and normal. And I think that you're going to learn so much more from me, from people like that, because I don't know who decided to romanticize entrepreneurship. Like, I don't understand how and when that happened. Like, you see is I'm talking like 0.001 of the story. Like, you don't see you didn't see when I cried as I signed my lease. Like, you don't, like, you know, like, you didn't see, you know, my husband literally having to hug me through signing my SBA loan because I was, and I'm a pretty calm person. Like, when it comes, I don't really, you know, get jolted too much. And then you don't see that. And I'll be talking more about that too. But again, I think I just believe in that so much. So Halima, you know, I'm so happy to be, you know, with Joel and you both this evening on this platform. share a little bit into that, because I believe in the authenticity of talking about just the true journey.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, 100%. I'm very candid. Everyone who knows me knows that I just tell it like it is. I don't cut no corners. Keep it moving.
Yes.
What about you, Joel?
I mean, I agree. I think that this social media age has us thinking that things has to look perfect. It has to look a certain way. And that's just not what real life is. You know, there's many nights where, I mean, if you go on my social media page, the first billboard that I had, like I pointed out, I'm not looking for your approval. I'm not looking for the like. This is for me. Like, you don't understand the tears, you know, that has gone into this, you know, the fear of me like getting over my own self and saying, you know what, you can do this. Like, the safety net, like, let it go and just follow God's path for you. And no matter what, you know, everything will fall into place, and it has been. But, you know, there are times when I feel a little off kilter, and which is why I was saying, hey, I have to meditate, I have to pray, I have to stay aligned, you know, spiritually, because this is not an easy walk at all. It's not easy. And so, yeah, Brittany, yeah, I agree. The authenticity, I'm here for it. I definitely wear makeup, but
at all.
But just the importance of knowing who you are and being yourself in any room, and not code switching, you know, not feeling like you have to be this certain person to fit in, is so important. And I think that a lot of us don't know who we are, you know, as people. We don't know where we come from. So yeah, authenticity is super important, especially in whatever line of work you're doing, you know.
I agree. I totally agree with you, ladies. So I want to ask a couple more questions before we wrap up. What, if you can briefly tell me, what was your most memorable moment as a singer, as an artist, as a business owner? It may not necessarily be as a business owner, but just something that alludes to where you are now. Whoever wants to go first.
I'll go. 2018, I just purchased my home. I was working, you know, as a full-time teacher. And I almost felt like I had to continue in that path because I had so many financial responsibilities. But like I was saying earlier, I wasn't happy. I knew I wasn't happy, and I was losing myself. And in that sort of position, it didn't enable me to further develop and explore the areas of myself that make me me. And so, again, that feeling of fear is just like, but what's going to happen? The uncertainty of it all. And so that I think like the spring of 2018, I couldn't sleep. You know, I wasn't getting any rest. Yeah, I just was not happy. The student, I did the best that I could to pour into my kids each day. But it just wasn't enough. And at a certain point, I had to come face to face with myself and say, what am I really offering these kids if I'm not, you know, giving my best? Like, if my cup is empty, how can I pour out? And so I think at that moment, I had to let go of control, because that is something that I've had a struggle with. I still struggle with it now. I'm getting better because everything is uncertain. I can't control, you know, I can't control things. I have to allow things to just flow naturally. And so getting the courage to brazenly go to the head of the school and say, hey, I'm actually going to follow my passion and I'm going to resign.
Mm.
I want to say when I did that, there was this weight that lifted off my shoulder. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know, if Beyond the Stage would even like grow to where it is right now. And we're still budding, it's not a full, we're working on a location. I'm working on the SBA loan right now. But the amount of courage and just the thrillness of like knowing that God will provide in spite of. I just, and ever since then, I've had that feeling of, you know what, it's just gonna work out. And so that really changed my way of thinking, my way of moving, the way that I pray, all of the things, my deference to my morals, like everything about, just really believing in what is for you is for you. That sort of idea is what gets me through every day. And so that was the most memorable moment. I'm sorry it took such a long time to say that, but like,
I'm in. I'm like,
it's really good.
That was the most memorable moment of my life, is just to let go of that control and to say, I'm letting go. This is what I really want. I'm going to follow this. And I know that God will make a way because this is what he has for me.
That's right.
So, yeah.
Well, you know what? I'm inspired by that. I'm sure Brittany is, and I'm sure whoever else is going to see this are too, because somebody needed to hear that, just gave a true word. Brittany?
Yeah, I would say, so obviously, being in business requires a significant amount of, of finance, whether it's, self-funded capital or, loans, all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, I was going to say one answer, but I was like, no, this one. It's actually, I'm going to say it's very personal. Rather than giving the exact number, I'll just speak to it. I'll just kind of say it at a higher level. So obviously, when you join a franchise, there's a franchise fee, it's a pretty significant amount of money. And then there's obviously money you have to inject as well along the way that the SBA will require. Sometimes it ranges 10 to 20% contingent upon what your total request is. And, I did all my research. I mean, before I went down to New Orleans, went back home and kind of, sat down in front of PJs and signed an agreement. I was like, okay, God. Okay, I need you to like really confirm for me that this is what you want me to do. Like I felt the divine intervention, but I was like, God, I feel in my spirit that if you make this so, and I'll get to that's going to be that's going to be my confirmation. Okay. And so I've been in sales and marketing my whole career. I've been blessed to be in a vocation that pays out bonuses, and bonuses are you have a base salary you get every other week or first and 15th, and then once a year you get a lump sum contingent upon your goals and objectives from the previous year. So being in e-commerce, it had been several years where we got really good payouts. So if they said I'm going to give you $10. We would get like 15 and numbers like that. Like we'd be 150%, if you will. So I had scheduled the trip, the join the team meeting was scheduled with corporate, literally the Friday before COVID, like shut the country down. Kid you not.
Oh my goodness.
And like that day. And so, I started hearing from my friends at work that, oh my God, you hear about bonuses? Did you hear about bonuses? And they were way under even 100%, which was unheard of. Like, in which that meant it was going to be like, I wasn't going to be anywhere near what I needed to kind of put my whole package together to really move in this, anyway. So what I was needing was not just 100%, it was above that. It was like a ridiculous number, frankly. But I was like, God, like, if that happens, that's my sign, right? Like, that's my sign. And long story short, I mean, I have friends in multiple functions that, again, payouts less than 100% of what they were told. So if they were told $10, they were getting $8 or $9. Our bonus payout in my function was within 8 percentage points of what I told God I needed. And it was a ridiculous number, like in terms of the percent payout. And I just lost the air in my lung. I was just like, you couldn't tell me he wasn't telling me to go do this. And again, I don't want to make it about money, and I hope it doesn't get lost in my story, but it was ask for what you need. And again, you could not, if I were, I'd be happy to share more specific details with you ladies, but like, you can't tell me, like, he literally went in and was like, type those numbers in and was like, here, that's her. And I was just like, and it was at that moment that my knees kind of stopped trembling, because I was like, no, this is it. And then even like that next layer of like the SBA loan, like when that went through, because I had gone through a lot associated with that. Even when that went through, I was like, okay, okay. Like, and just leaning into those, like when you just know it's just above earth. This is like, I couldn't have crafted that, some of these things. Like, yes, there were SBA loans that were distributed during COVID, but do you know how rigorous it was talk about pressure testing. I think I did everything but my firstborn, literally, in terms of information. So yes, I think that was just my big, like, okay, I'm walking in this. And I've had moments since then that, have been nerve wracking, but, as people talk to me, they're like, oh my gosh, how'd you do it? And I'm just like, kind of after those two key milestones, that bonus piece and like the SBA piece, I was like, this is it. Like I kind of feel like there was like a fortress around me, and all I have to do is just keep going.
Yes.
It's all about keeping God first and keeping the faith. And that's exactly what you ladies are. I mean, this has been beautiful, because this conversation, we're talking about business and your journey, but the number one factor in all of this is keeping the Most High at the forefront. And that's what led you towards your journey and staying on that purpose. I have one more question.
Yes.
And I want to ask you is, what advice would you give to other aspiring artists, business owners? Just tell it.
Don't let passion be your only thing fueling you. Yes. And this is going to sound so insensitive, but passion does not pay the bills. I mean, so be passionate, but be about your business. You have to bring on a consultant to help you. If you're that passionate, invest in it and ensure that you're going to build something that's sustainable and has longevity. Like, that's probably the biggest thing. And I would also say, do not be concerned about, do not be concerned about broadcasting it. Like, there were, like, when I announced what I was doing, people were like, oh my God, I had no idea. Yeah, because telling you was not a priority for me. Like, I was literally grinding for a year, not thinking about, I announced what I was doing a week before we opened. Like, literally, I was like, okay, I'll share it now. Like, that wasn't my motivation. And if I'm really honest, you can kind of tell people who are doing things not because they want to do it, but they're doing it to kind of have that, unfortunately, I guess, likes or kind of have that moment. And like, don't focus on that. Turn inward. I'm sure we've all heard the saying, move in silence. Like, literally, even the few people that I did tell were very excited for me. And you kind of got into, the what's and the whys, and not like bad questions, but just questions and having to talk about it. But that was energy that I was pouring into, like, God's having this conversation with me, not with you. Like, this is a 2-person conference call right now. And like, I'm gonna leave it like that, And so those are my big pieces of advice. Like, just incubate it. Don't worry about sharing it. To Joel's point, I think social media has a lot more influence on in our world than I wish it did. And I think it just takes a certain level of fortitude and maturity to really kind of just block that out. Like, you will always have an opportunity to shot from the mountaintop. And you're going to get to the point where like you want to, like you're so proud and you're so excited, but check yourself at the door and keep grinding. I can't emphasize enough, just grinding and keeping your eye on the prize, literally.
I agree.
Yes, that's all good stuff. You hit so many good points. I think I will speak from what I had to learn at the beginning of my journey. Build your circle. Not everybody's going to come with you.
Ooh.
You better say that.
Oh my gosh.
You have to be around people that has the same mindset as you. That is the most important thing, I think, when you're talking about entrepreneurship, being a business owner, artist, whatever, right? Surround yourself with people who are going to encourage you, because this journey is not an easy journey, like we shared. And build your character. Though being around that circle of like-minded individuals will also help to build your character, right? And another thing is, I think being careful of what you post on social media is super important. Like Brittany said, you don't need to broadcast all of your moves. It's for you and God to talk about, nobody else. And that's all. I think just that circle piece is so important, because a lot of your friends can really bring you down. The conversations are truly different. And I think that kind of sort of seeps into who you are as a person. And that's not something that you want to pour. That's not the energy that you want when you're birthing a business. So, yeah.
That's spot on advice. Like there was actually a woman I met 3 weeks ago that has been a pillar of what I've been like. She's a 16 unit franchise owner, Black woman. I have her on speed dial. Okay.
Yes.
Like, and just 3 weeks ago, like, she's calling me, okay, girl, hey, what measures do you have in place for that? Oh, girl, let's talk about it. Like, so to your point, Joelle, like people that you would never fathom, like surround yourself with people with where you are, but also where you're trying to go. I'm trying to have
exactly.
I want you to be today on unit 1 what I need to be thinking about so that I can build something that's a carbon copy as I get towards 16. Excellent point. Like, don't also be, people like to talk about day ones. Yeah, keep your day ones, but you're going to be acquiring, still be open to people coming along your journey as well. That enter into new spaces, be open to new networks.
Yes.
I totally agree. You ladies left some really great nuggets, some great sound bites, just basically the less people know about you, the better off you are. But it's how they know about you and what you need to share. That first conversation starts with God, number 1. Additionally, it's like how to win. It's like the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
I have that.
One of the things it says is that never be around anyone you can't learn nothing from or teach nothing to. I was taught that.
That's it.
I was taught that at like maybe 2 or 3 years old. And I've always tried to surround myself with like-minded people, positive vibrations. I mean, of course, you're going to always encounter individuals who are not like you. That's just life,
Yeah.
You still have to stay in that zone. You really have to protect your energy. And you really have to stay guarded in many ways, and not just in business, but in your personal life. And your circle is very important. So
offer something on that really quickly.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
I've actually, when I think 2 or 3 years ago, I wouldn't have had patience for someone who thinks and moves so differently than me. Because I just pride myself on, okay, if I think this way, or if I'm thinking this, it's coming with just as a reason, right? Like now I'm realizing, I mean, you probably know this too, like I can learn something from literally everyone.
Right.
Literally someone I can't stand. If I had to be with you for 15 minutes, I would learn something. And I'm thankful. I think that's especially when it comes to being, being in business. You're gonna be networking. When the world turns normal, we're gonna be networking. You're gonna be around people.
Right.
When you manage people, when you work with people, whatever it is, people aren't going anywhere. And especially if you're gonna be a business owner, more than likely you're not gonna be able to shoulder it all by yourself. So it's gonna take a village. And some of those people are people you may think you can do without, but I promise, like you learn something. Even employees who are no longer with me and things like that. I learned something about, I need to kind of maybe sharpen that interview a little bit more to kind of weed these little things out. I mean, there's something there from all of it. So yeah, I would definitely lean into that.
No, I agree. You learn something from everyone. It's like even in a bad marriage, if that person that you were once married to, you may be divorced, but you learn something from that person. You learn something from that experience, and it teaches you something different and better. So you're right. We're always going to be students. And I think that's the most important thing. Always be a student, always be willing to listen and pass on the torch. Ladies, I wanna say thank you. I have learned, even at 52 years old, I've learned so much from you. Ain't like I'm 102 years old, but even if I was 102 years old and can't remember half anything, I will remember this conversation. You've inspired me immensely. You keep doing the things you do. I grabbed quite a few nuggets from you all. You're being true to God, keeping true to God, being true and authentic to who you are. Always keep it real. Faith is the key in all that we do. Keep the faith and stay on that path to continuous greatness. It's been with us all the time since the day we were born. So you are truly women of color catalysts. And as I always say, you are more than trailblazers. You are trendsetters. So thank you so much, ladies. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, everyone, this has been Anything and Everything, Women of Color Catalysts, honoring Women's History Month. And we've had the lovely Brittany Willis and Joel Dyson. Stay tuned next Tuesday, March 23rd at 6 p.m. Eastern Time for a conversation with 4 female international artists from Brazil, Qatar, and Sudan. They will share their challenges and triumphs as artists in their respective regions. Here it is right here. So stay tuned next week. Brittany and Joel, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you.